Hey there, welcome to the Learning Checkpoint 1.2 video. I won't always make videos like this, but since I didn't get a chance to go through the questions in class today, I wanted to make sure that you guys could get some feedback on your Learning Checkpoint and then also help improve your grade for those of you who actually watch this recording. All right, so my first question says, select all 4 true descriptions of the graph of y is less than or equal to 3x plus 4. So I'm dealing with this inequality right here. And we're going to kind of break down our answer choices to help figure out what's going on and what are my 4 true descriptions. So if I look at the first two, I notice that they're relatively the same. So I'm going to kind of analyze them together. And it says that the y-intercept is either at 0, 4 or 0, 3. If you'll remember from class, we talked about slope-intercept form today. Y equals mx plus b. And if you'll remember, that b value, that is my y-intercept. Okay, so clearly here in this inequality, my y-intercept is 4. So 0, 4, that's going to be one of my true descriptions. It's at 0 because when we go through my y-axis, the x-intercept for any y-intercept is always at 0. Now, the second thing we can look at here, it's asking about dotted versus solid lines. If we had a dotted line, we would either have a less than or a greater than symbol. And if we have a solid line, it's going to be less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. Those are my options. Okay, if I kind of separate those out. So here we can clearly see we have a less than or equal to sign, which means we're going to have a solid line. Now with shading above or below. So if I shade above the line, if you draw that arrow like we did in class, that means you're going to be greater than or equal to. Where if I'm shading below, I'm going underneath, I could draw my arrow pointing down, and that's going to be less than or equal to. And here we can see we have a less than or equal to sign, so we're going to be shading below that line. The last thing I want to test is to see which point is on the line. So if I'm on the line, I'm going to be equal to one another, okay? The inequality part, the shading part, that's the less than part. The actual line, if I have a solid line, that's the equal part. So I want to know when x is equal, here's my x values, when x is equal to 1, what does y equal? So if I go and I take my inequality, y is less than or equal to 3x plus 4, if I plug in 1 for x, because they gave me 1 as my x value in that problem. 3 times 1 is just 3, and 3 plus 4 is 7. So y would have to be less than or equal to 7. I want that equal part because it's asking me what's on the line. So 1 comma 7 would be the point on the line. 1 comma 5 would be part of the shaded region since it's below, and that's true. 5 is less than or equal to 7. It would be part of the shaded region, but the 1, 7 is going to be on the line since it's equal to. All right, so number 2, place these steps in order. What would you do to the graph? What would you do to graph the equation y equals 2 over 5 times x minus 6, or 2/5 x minus 6? Again, we're starting in slope-intercept form. We talked today about slope-intercept form that we always begin with b. We begin with b. This is my value of b, -6. So that's what I would plot first. I'd plot the y-intercept. So this would be my first step. Okay, this is my y-intercept. Okay, next I use my y-intercept to start, and I use the slope, my m value, to graph my next point. So from the y-intercept, I'm going to rise up 2 because that's my rise portion, and then I'm going to run to the right 5 because that's in my denominator there. That's what I'm going to run to plot my second point. That's my second step. And then lastly, I would just connect those 2 points and I would have my line. All right, and number 3 here, we want, it says this graph matches which system of equations. So I'm given two equations and we want to match those. So there's a couple ways that you can go about matching like this with graphs. One way that I like to do it, we know, again, we're still talking about y equals mx plus b. That's our slope-intercept form. And we talked about like slope, for example. Looking at these lines, this red line, the red one, it has a positive slope because it's going uphill, right? And then my blue line, it's got a negative slope because it's going downhill. So that means that my m value, my slope, is going to be positive or for one of my two equations, and it's going to be negative for the other. So right away, if I look at my x terms, I have one positive, one negative. Here I have two positive slopes. So this one I can eliminate right away. That's gone. Here I have one positive, one negative, and here I have one positive, one negative. So I'm only able to eliminate one choice, but that's helpful. Now, another thing that we can do is look at our y-intercepts. Okay, so if I look here at my intercepts, my b values, well, my red line, my b value is at 4. Okay, and then my b value or my y-intercept of my blue line is at -5. So now I want to look to have one +4 and one -5. +4, -5. Oh, look, this one we've already crossed out. Still doesn't work. -5, +4, -5, +4. So I wasn't able to eliminate any other choices that way. But we can take a look at, let's see, 2x plus 4. Okay, I'll just kind of go through the rest. So looking at the red line, I'm going to kind of fill in the rest of the pieces. Y equals mx plus b. We know that the b was the +4. And looking at the slope, I can find the slope by doing my rise over run. So my rise is up 1, 2, and over 1. I just picked another point on the graph, and then I counted. So up 2 over 1, that's going to be my slope. 2 over 1x equals y. There's my equation. Y equals 2x plus 4. Y equals 2x plus 4. Y equals 2x plus 4. This does not have y equals 2x plus 4 in it, so I can't use choice C. So these two are all gone. So now looking at my blue line, y equals mx plus b, we know that that b value is that -5. And now if I pick another point on the line, there's one right here. If I count how many my rise over run, I go down 1 or -1 and then over 1. So down 1 over 1 equals y. And -1 over 1 is just -1 or x. So my slope is going to be -x. This is like having a 1 here. -1x minus 5. So choice A would be the correct answer. I can eliminate this because here my slope clearly wasn't -5. Okay, so our last one, this should really be number 4. And I think I copied the wrong question with the graph. But number 4 is going to ask about the solution or where they intersect. Okay, so we're looking at the two lines. It's the same lines for number 3. And the point where they cross, that is the solution to that system of equations. So I'm just writing the coordinate. Remember, your coordinate is an x comma y. So here I went over -3 for my x direction, and I went down -2 in my y direction. So my point of intersection, or that solution to that system, is -3 comma -2. So that wraps up the learning checkpoint answers. You can go back and do your second attempt if you'd like to improve your score. Thanks for watching.